So, entrepreneur, what is your brand? Is it beautiful? Is it bold? Or is it brainy? Hang with me for a few minutes and I'll go through the 3 pillars of a successful brand and what you need to do to either support or overcome in order to be a successful brand. Hey there, I'm Marc from the StarterCookie channel, where we're passionate about expertly guiding entrepreneurs of all kinds, just like you, through a community-powered membership. And in this video, we're talking about brand. All right, let's get into it. What is a brand? And to illustrate this, let's do a wardrobe change. All right, so what do you think when you see me? When you're looking at me right now, I must look like a walking billboard for various brands. Like you look at my hat here, I've got Red Bull Racing, Oracle. So you must think that I'm into Formula One and auto racing, right? And then you see these Ray-Bans. So what do they conjure up? And maybe you're looking at this 5 o'clock shadow, which is actually a 4-day shadow now. But you start thinking, oh, is he like that tough, rugged Marlboro type character? Or am I just lazy and I don't like to shave, whatever, right? But at the end of the day, let's go with the Marlboro type thing. And then you look at my jacket here. I think it's here, yeah, Canada Goose, a nice goose down jacket. But you must be thinking, he likes to spend a little bit of money on jackets because it's a nice jacket. Why wouldn't he, right? And if you look at my Patagonia, what do you think there? This is Patagonia, nice and soft, outdoorsy type thing. And then, controversial, my Max Verstappen branded t-shirt. Now, I know a lot of Lewis fans out there, just calm down. Don't get your knickers in a twist. Lewis will have another shot at it, another season. The guy's not going anywhere. But when you look at this, you're thinking like Max Verstappen. So this guy, again, maybe he's into auto racing, right? And he likes controversial racers. And then look at this. I've got my Levi's on with my Adidas running shoes. So what do you think of those when I have Adidas and not Nikes, right? And then what about my socks, funky little socks I got at Needless Markups. And then these socks I got at Baskin Robbins. Really? You think I got those at Baskin Robbins? Anyway, I think I've proven the point about brands. It's all about how we feel when we wear a brand, but more importantly, how the world sees us when we associate ourselves with that brand. Okay, wardrobe change. All right, I'm back with a non-branded shirt. I know that was a little crazy, right? That was like a little woo out there. But anyways, let's get deeper into this. When I say beautiful brand, what do you think of? Is it any one of the luxury brands like Gucci, Ferrari, Chanel, or Ritz-Carlton? What is beautiful to you? And when I say bold, you think of GM pickup trucks, energy drinks, or someone with a big personality like The Rock. And finally, when I say brainy or smart, do you think of Apple, Google, or even Tesla? But I bet you don't think of Doritos, right? We'll get to more of that later. You'll see what I mean. You see, a brand is not the image they present to you so much as it is how you see them, what you associate with them. Now, let's consider a personal brand and the negative impact of messing up on a brand image, like a celebrity who may do something negative in the public eye, and all of a sudden their carefully curated image pre-event goes down the tubes because of something that completely tarnishes their image. And you as a person now makes a choice as to whether or not to stand by them or join the crowd in disassociating yourself from them. I think you don't have to try hard to even think of one person right now. And that's why brands work really hard to protect their images. Think clothing companies and sweatshops. Once something goes viral and not in a good way, it doesn't take long for brands to do a complete revamping to make sure you see them in a new and better light. So a brand will always try to project exactly how they want you to see them, so they hopefully can make you feel good about them. It's a feeling state they're after. How do you feel about them when you see them or think about them? Often it has nothing to do with whether their product is better than the competition. As long as you feel it is, that's what they're after. And how do they do that? By carefully crafting that visual to solicit the emotions that would attract you as the buyer. And that's exactly what you need to do to be a successful brand in order to build a strong brand. You may be able to nail all 3, beautiful, bold, and brainy, or smart as we like to say, but chances are you'll only get 2 out of the 3. And if you only get 1 of the 3, you may need to work a little harder to succeed. Having said that, let's start with beautiful. Beautiful is probably the easiest to choose from. Now, at this point, I should mention that brand is not branding. Branding is more about logos, fonts, colors, and the aesthetics. But the two do go hand in hand because minus the logo, which is not really all that important, the rest and how you put it all together are important. Why? Because image is everything. It's kind of like reputation. You need to tell the world that you care enough about yourself and your product that you have put time into it. You need to show up ready to take on the world. That means grooming and cultivating a great website and social presence. That when people land on it, they're like, yeah, I feel good here. This brand looks like they have their shizzle together, and I can relate to it. Your social presence needs to be consistent between your website and all of your channels. That means same fonts, colors, etc. And again, consistency. People need to know that when they see you in one place, they can expect to see you looking the same way everywhere else. Image matters. It goes a long way to create trust, knowing that the brand is not fly by night or a hodgepodge of miscellaneous concepts thrown together. Now, sometimes when we talk about beauty, especially the personal brands, we can be talking about the physical aspects of a person. Let's face it, not all things are created equal. Not everybody is externally beautiful in a model-like way. And I hate saying that because it should matter, but when it comes to brand, it often does. It's why brands of all kinds use models to sell their stuff. Physical appearances usually catch our eye and has an edge on everyone else. It's a fact, I didn't make the rules, so don't blame me. Our brains did. So what you can control, make beautiful. As personal brands, show up at your best when possible. And unlike Nike, just don't do it, make an effort. I know it sucks for us normal people, but it is what it is until, and here's the silver lining in this story, until someone with a big, bold personality walks into the room and steals all the thunder and leaves that pretty little thing sitting in the corner saying, "Where's my spotlight?" Right? You know what I mean? And that brings us to the second pillar. I think this is a huge one. I think that beauty gets that velvet rope lifted to let you into the club, but bold is the reason that people go to the club. Bold is a statement. It makes an impact. When I think of a bold brand, I think of Oprah. Everything she touches is there to make a statement, from TV to her magazine to the causes she supports. A strong brand needs to have a strong mission. It has to want to contribute something valuable to the world. It wants to stand out. It can also be niche. When you think bold, you have to think of brands like Apple. Think different. Nike, just do it. Ford, build to last. I think we've all seen those commercials where they drop that pickup truck, I don't know how far, and then it lands on the ground and it's all shaking around just to show you how tough it is. Or showing them driving through all these terrains, mud, hail, snow, everything. They are making a statement. So what is your statement? What do you stand for? How can you go from being a wallflower in a nightclub to the person on stage in that nightclub without drinking and being all shizzle-faced, Ugh. Guilty, been there, done that. There's an old saying, love me or hate me, but there's no money in the middle. So bold is being unapologetically 100% authentic. But let's face it, and here's another silver lining to that story. Bold can also be hard to pull off if you're a little Ford Fiesta trying to pull off a tough Ford F-150 built to last truck. We all have our limits, and that's when you have to be brainy, smart. Smart brands are brands that know how to use their strengths and weaknesses to their advantage. Okay, circling back to when I mentioned Doritos and smart brands, how is Doritos a smart brand, you might be asking? Well, they're not about being beautiful. We know that. And are they bold? Questionable, right? So they better do a funny Super Bowl commercial to get our attention. But maybe they throw beautiful into it and juxtapose two very average looking guys into it and play with that. I remember way back in the day, there was this Doritos Super Bowl commercial with a beautiful model-like woman that walks into a laundromat, and these two guys start showing off flipping Doritos up into the air and catching it with their mouths. Ow! Thinking that's gonna get the girl. But then she walks over to them, grabs the bag and tosses the Doritos into the dryer and walks back and waits for the dryer doors to spring open and fire those chips towards her. She does all these ninja moves to catch it with her mouth. Totally unbelievable, but totally fun and totally smart on how they took that boring bag of Doritos and turned it into one of the most talked about commercials of that year. And we see smart brands doing this all the time. Recently, Old Spice or the Shaving Club, combining something mundane and doing it with a twist in order to entertain and make it memorable. So how can you be smart about your brand? Is there something clever you can play off of? Is what you have mundane but can be juxtaposed to be clever? But there's an important caveat to the SMART rule, and here it is. You have to be careful not to be all about the facts. Remember, a brand needs to have a person feel a certain way about them. So if you start throwing all your facts and sciences at them, well, now you're just boring. And maybe even making them feel dumb. That's not smart. The key is to make the consumer feel smart because your approach is smart. Okay, let's recap. Beautiful. It's not about the logo. It's how you aesthetically pull the overall branding together to make the buyer of your product feel the way you want them to feel. The aesthetics need to match the emotion. Sports brands need to look exciting. Nike has great visuals. The colors and the fonts always feel supportive of the brand. How can you choose the aesthetic you want to convey for your brand that is consistent across all platforms and makes the consumer feel a certain way? Remember, it's not what you feel about the brand, it's what they feel after seeing and experiencing your brand. And that's a big mistake more than a few entrepreneurs make. They fall in love with their brand saying, I love my branding. It's so this, it's so that. But is it doing the job it needs to be doing? Is it bringing about a feeling state within the customer? Bold. Bold is your statement to the world. Is it a whimper or is it loud and proud? I don't mean boasting because the best bold brands, they don't self-aggrandize. Do you have a mission? What do you stand for? What's your why? Maybe you need to read Simon Sinek's book, Find Your Why. And lastly, how can you be brainy or smart about how you project yourself to the world? Is there something about your product, service, or person that can be leveraged in a way that people think you've done a clever job of making the mundane fun and entertaining? Or can you leverage a fact so it works on a feeling state, not an intellectual level? You know, smart can be many things. It can be fun, exciting, and it can be dramatic, but it should never be boring. Okay, that is a brief look at the 3 pillars of a successful brand. And I mean brief because there's courses, millions of books taught on this, but we cover just enough for you to start thinking about what you might need to do before you build your website, do paid ads, try to blow up your social channels. You need to sit down and do a deep dive into these 3 areas. What can you do to be successful in at least 2 of them? Nail all 3 and you're on your way to an IPO, end up in the stock market ringing that bell, ding-a-ding-a-ding. And if nothing else, ask yourself, how will this action make my audience and customers feel? Are the things I do going to confuse and lose them, or will I attract and endear them to my brand, whether a service, product, or personal? It's all about how they feel about you, and if they feel good, then and only then can you establish a rapport with them. And why is that so important? Because trust and reputation are the cornerstones of a successful business model. So to wrap that all up in one sentence, look good, be strong, and don't put your foot in your mouth. Easy as that. As always, if you enjoyed this content, give us a thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and brush your teeth for a nice, healthy, beautiful branded smile. All right, I'll see you in another video.